Now, in every season of the Pokemon anime, there are going to be absolutely fantastic episodes. Breathtaking episodes that are so memorable you could never possibly forget them, and you always nostalgically look back at those episodes of those seasons and just think, wow, Pokemon really is the best, isn't it? But similarly, every season is bound to have those duff episodes. Episodes that just aren't that good, they're not well written, and they're just kind of boring. This is one of those episodes. We start today's episode with a direct quote from the narrator.
Last time, our heroes were well on their way to Violet City.
What? No, they weren't. Why are you lying, mate? Last time, they spent an entire day trying to find a missing Donphan when the woman who owned it had a whistle that would call a bunch of other Donphan that could instantly track it down. And before that, they wasted another day watching a territory war between Pinsir and Heracross when Ash just could have caught Heracross and moved on. So they're not well on their way to Violet City after all. The narrator is a liar. Pass it on. Our heroes find themselves lost as usual, and Misty says this always happens when Ash is in charge. Well, here's a crazy thought then. Don't put Ash in charge. I don't even understand why you put him in charge in the first place when he's the least experienced member of the group. That's just asking for trouble. Case in point, Ash suddenly runs off and shouts at Brock and Misty to come with him. Now, given that their options on this path are ahead or back the way they came, there's no harm in them picking up the pace. But look, the animation above Ash's head. It's fuchsia. And what's fuchsia a shade of? That's right, purple. And what's another shade of purple? Exactly, violet. So maybe Ash knows the way after all. Oh yeah, just in case you hadn't noticed in the previous episode, at this point in time, Pokemon have begun quite a lazy naming convention for episodes, where instead of a clever pun or a play on words, they just throw together a couple of words that happen to rhyme. And we get this for a couple more episodes after this one. So far, we've had Roll On Pokemon, see, it rhymes, and Illusion Confusion, and we're about to have Flower Power and Spinnerack Attack. Granted, after that we do eventually get back to some nice wordplay like Ignorance is Blissy, but just for a short while it does seem like the writers ran out of steam when naming their episodes. After ending up lost in the woods again, this time at night, that's what you get for still following Ash, I guess, our heroes find themselves scared out of their wits by trees that appear to have faces. Gen 2 Trevenant confirmed. Oh my god, it's Gary Gary! It's the first Gary Gary sighting of Season 3, I think. Does that mean we're gonna get to see a rematch between Ash and Gary Gary already? Of course not. Don't be stupid. Gary Gary will be gone in a minute. How disappointing. Bipedal Hoothoot is a cursed image. And if I have to see it, so do you.
Well, actually, Liam, I think you'll find all Hoothoot have 2 legs, so technically they're all bipedal.
True, but 99% of the time it stands on one leg and changes legs so fast most people never see the second leg. So I'd argue they're mostly monopedal, including this one, if we're being pedantic. Regardless, it still doesn't make this image any less horrifying. Most importantly, talking about this gives me justification to put it in the thumbnail, which means all the know-it-alls that can't resist asking,
This person doesn't know it has 2 legs?
even though I obviously know that, won't be able to resist clicking on the video to come and insult my intelligence. What can I say? The Pokemon community is nothing if not predictable. Mate, Gary Gary is so full of shit. He tells Ash that you have to get a Hoothoot in order to get through this forest, otherwise you'll be lost in the forest forever. Mate, even Ash should be able to tell this is BS. Because if that was the case, the forest would be full of lost trainers, and probably a few corpses here or there. Misty questions why, if he's so smart and got himself a Hoothoot, that he's still in the forest and has been long enough for them to catch up with him. And Gary Gary explains that he spent so long catching a bunch of different Pokemon that he must have lost track of time. Mate, to be preoccupied catching Pokemon for that long, you must have been catching every single Pokemon you laid your eyes on. Gary Gary was go before it was cool. Pass it on. And with that, Gary Gary just leaves. Yeah, they really did throw in a Gary Gary appearance just to give a small snippet of episode exposition. Mate, you could have had any character do that. Don't waste Gary Gary like this. He deserves so much better than this. Now, if you feel like I deserve a like, be sure to twat one on this video. Share this video on social media to help it in the algorithm. And of course, leave a lovely comment down below. And if you can't think of a lovely comment, leave something generic like,
There he goes! Gary gone!
Or just comment the name of the secret Pokemon I've hidden somewhere in the video. And of course, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you never miss an episode of Pokemon WTF Moments or anything on my channel. Thank you as always for getting us to 1.75 million subscribers. I know it doesn't look like that, new people. Don't worry. If you subscribe today, maybe YouTube will add that extra 0. And of course, don't forget to check out my streams over on Twitch or you'll miss out on stuff like this.
Motherfucker, if that had lived on 1. Now it changes to origin form.
Oh!
Please no, I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
Oh, get fucked! Get well and truly fucked!
Oh my god!
The gang decide to take Gary Gary's advice and look for a Hoothoot. So naturally, they just walk around the forest yelling its name. Because of course, if there's one thing that will definitely make a wild animal approach you, it's yelling. Come on guys, use your noodles. Just as they're about to give up hope, a random Hoothoot appears. Now, who could have seen that coming? I, for one, am totally shocked and very relieved for our heroes, said no one ever. Misty tries to step away from the Hoothoot, but every time she does, it moves closer to her and rubs itself up against her legs. Hoothoot is a pedo. Pass it on. After the Hoothoot runs away, Ash tells Pikachu to thunderbolt it. This angers the Hoothoot and it jumps onto Ash's hat and starts pecking repeatedly at his head. And Pikachu just stands there looking gobsmacked. Mate, you've been told to use Thunderbolt, so use it. Help Ash out.
Well, actually, Liam, I think you'll find if Pikachu had used Thunderbolt on the Hoothoot, chances are Ash would have been shocked by it too.
And when has that ever stopped him before? Hoothoot suddenly runs over to this old lady, who Ash and Brock are convinced must be an illusion, and Ash says,
Something this ugly only shows up in my nightmares.
Mate, I know the idea here is that he thinks the woman isn't real, but man, way to teach kids to call people ugly to their faces. Not cool, Pokemon. For some reason, after the woman shouts at them, Brock gets so scared he grows an extra finger. Look, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so his right hand checks out, but let's check his left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6. Brock, mate, you need to see a doctor. They tell you to go and checked out if you find an unusual lump. I'm sure they'd want you to get checked out as soon as possible if you suddenly had an extra finger. Direct quote from the woman.
The name's Hagatha, and kids, you're gonna need me to get out of this forest.
I mean, that's not really true, is it? Like Gary said, they just need to find a Hoothoot. And I know that in a moment we're gonna find out that this is where Gary Gary's is from, but I'm sure there's probably still some wild Hoothoot out there, so they don't necessarily need Hagatha. So it turns out Hagatha rents out Hoothoot to people so they can safely get through the forest. So she's a con woman, basically. And then she reveals that Gary rented one from her, meaning he didn't actually catch one. Wait, so Gary's a liar? What a weird choice by the writers. They always make Gary seem so competent and skilled as a trainer, but you're telling me he couldn't catch a Hoothoot and had to rent one. Hashtag not my Gary. Hagatha reveals that she only has one Hoothoot available, and it's the one Ash and friends have already met. However, this Hoothoot has never successfully led anyone through the forest. She then tells the story of a guy who insisted on using that Hoothoot, and then explains that he eventually ended up back at her place 3 days later, almost starved to death. Now I get that that's pretty rough, but here's a crazy idea. Why not train the Hoothoot? Wouldn't that solve the problem? Direct quote from Hagatha.
Since I'm the one who raised it, this Hoothoot only gets along with pretty girls.
I get what you're driving at, Hagatha, but let's face it, if that's really the case, why the hell does Hoothoot still hang around with you? Oh shit, me and Ash had the exact same reaction.
Too bad there aren't any here.
Who knew me and Ash had such similar thoughts? Do you know what? Maybe I have been watching this anime way too long. Ash and friends suddenly get attacked by what appears to be wisps from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Gen 2 Spiritomb. Confirmed. After ignoring Ash's cries for help, but suddenly jumping into action when Misty asks it to help them, Hoothoot, the big simp, tries to use foresight to reveal whatever's creating the wisps, but it fails. Wow, dude, after you spent all that time swooning over a 10-year-old girl, and now you're having performance anxiety. Today has not been a good day for you, has it, nonce? I tell you what though, it's a good day for you lot, because Code Ace is giving you 30% off GFuel this weekend! That's right, normally Code Ace gives you 10% off your GFuel order, but until midnight on Monday the 28th of February 2022, you'll be able to use Code Ace and get 30% off your GFuel order. 20% for cans. So that means it's the perfect time to try GFuel. It's an energy formula with barely any calories, zero sugar, and a whole heap of wonderful flavors like the lovely Mega Potion that I'm drinking today. This is my second favorite flavor after Nemesis Tea. It's so good and refreshing. It's mango and jackfruit, and it just tastes so lovely and luxurious, and like I say, it's bloody refreshing. Oh, that is so bloody good, and it tastes even better in the Gary too, the official GFuel Shaker Cup of this channel. There's less than 300 of these bad boys left, so get yours while stocks last and use code ACE for 30% off your order when you do. Of course, GFuel is for over 18s only because it contains caffeine, and children don't need to be anywhere near caffeine. They're annoying enough as it is, but because it contains caffeine, drink it responsibly. Don't be a dickhead. When Hoothoot finally tries using foresight again after more begging from Misty, the wisps all combine into one giant flaming face. Mate, I'm starting to think they're going to need a Sylph Scope. Wait, is the Sylph Scope canon in the anime? Huh, only in Pokemon Origins. Yeah, I remember Red using it in the Marowak bit, but it is weird that they never used the Sylph Scope in the main series. You'd have thought they could have made an interesting episode out of that though, but apparently not. Mate, give Team Rocket some credit. They're using fishing rods with thick rope on them and somehow managed to wrap that rope around Pikachu and tighten it like some kind of weird rope snake charmers. Like, you can't pretend that's not impressive. Can you do that? Because I can't. During their motto, Team Rocket make Ash slam into a wall that's basically a giant ink stamper and make an impression of Ash on a giant piece of cloth. But why though? Like, what are you going to do with what's effectively an Ash Ketchum body pillow with no fill-in? Do you know what? Don't answer that. Also, Pikachu be like, Team Rocket then throw Pikachu into a cooler. Mate, are you insane? Those things are airtight. Pikachu's gonna die in there, lads. I've gotta say, this isn't your best plan so far, handing in a dead rat to Giovanni. Team Rocket then try and escape in this rope boat thing they've made. But of course the rope breaks, sending them crashing to the ground below. My question is though, where does the rope lead? Does it lead out of the forest? Because if that's the case, have Team Rocket known the way out all this time? Because I thought they were lost. Answers on a postcard. Not gonna lie, Jesse asking James why he bought such a cheap line and Meowth replying,
He got roped in.
gave me a genuine chuckle. Direct quote from Arbok.
Jabbercock.
But Arbok, you're a snake. You just look like a cock. I don't think you have one. Do snakes have cocks? Oh god, Google's gonna hate me. Or at least I'm gonna hate myself. God, here we go. I searched do snakes have penises and the first result was
Why snakes have two penises and alligators are always erect. From spiky penises to an extra clitoris, reptile reproductive parts don't lack for variety.
Sophie, where's the bleach? Well, to answer that question then, Arbok probably doesn't have a penis. It probably has two. So, is there a way I can unsubscribe from myself? Now, this is one of those weird WTF moments. Wait, I can't believe I scripted that line after that last entry. What was I thinking? Anyway, now this is one of those weird WTF moments, apparently, where the moment itself isn't a WTF moment, but people will ask why I didn't mention it if I don't mention it. And look, I get it, a Dragonite appearing out of nowhere normally would be a WTF moment. But in a forest we've already seen is filled with illusions? Sure, it's a surprise, I guess, that the writers chose Dragonite to be one of the illusions, but the illusion happening really isn't that surprising, given the context, is it? Now this is a WTF moment. Just after Brock says Team Rocket might have been seeing things, just like they had been, to Ash, who is stood directly to his left, whatever's creating the illusions creates about 20 or so duplicates of Ash. Now this shouldn't really be an issue because obviously the real Ash is going to be the one that stood where Ash just was, directly to Brock's left, less than a foot away from him. But look, the fucking idiots moved! Ash mate, why would you move? Your position was the only thing that would have distinguished you from the copies. Ash is a numpty. Pass it on. Oh, mate, that was unbearable. Having to listen to a crowd of Ash Ketchums all talking at once, in a scene that just dragged on for way too long. I honestly can't believe it took Pikachu this long to think of using Thunderbolt. That's normally his go-to when any mild inconvenience happens. Pikachu, screw your head on, lad. Hoothoot finally uses Foresight properly to save Misty from an illusion of a bunch of Bug-type Pokemon, and it's revealed that the things creating the illusions was a bunch of Haunter and Gengar. Man, that's disappointing. We're in a new region full of new Pokemon and we get another Gen 1 Ghost types creating illusions episode? Although having said that, they only added one Ghost type in Gen 2 and that was Misdreavus, so I guess their options were limited. Could have been a Psychic type doing it though. Ash tells Bulbasaur to use Vine Whip. That's a great idea, Ash. Use a weak Grass type move on a bunch of Poison types. Honestly, I can't believe you're not already a Pokemon master with tactics like that. Now we've let this one slide a few times recently, but I'm short on points today, so let's whip it in. Pikachu lands Thunderbolt on multiple Haunter and Gengar at once. Ash is a hacker. Confirmed. The next morning, Ash and friends bump into Hagatha's twin sister, Hagatha. Hagatha. Christ, I've got to be careful trying to pronounce that name. That's got YouTuber Under Fire written all over it. Listen, I know this is just an illusion. However, whenever Meowth is walking around on any given day, he doesn't wear clothes because he's a Pokemon. But when he's at the beach, he wears shorts? What's that about? Now, I don't want to lower the tone, but there's something about a group of sinister beings surrounding 3 sleeping people and maniacally chuckling that just really unsettles me. Like, this has all the hallmarks of a terrible crime about to happen. So it's probably best that this is where the episode ends. So those are my WTF moments for Pokemon Season 3, Episode 5, Illusion Confusion. Let me know your favorites and any that I missed down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Head to twitch.tv/AceTrainLiam for all of my live streams. I would love to see you there. And use code ACE for 30% off GFuel this weekend. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.